Hello everyone, I'm Dr. K.T. Manis, and welcome to Era 1, 1900 to 1920, the period where marketing becomes necessary as a distinct field of study. During this era, the U.S. economy industrializes rapidly, firms scale up, and distribution becomes a serious strategic challenge. Selling a product isn't enough anymore. Companies have to figure out how to move goods efficiently, maintain consistency across markets, and create demand for branded products. At the same time, universities respond by building business schools to train professional managers for this new corporate environment. So the big takeaway for this era is simple. Marketing emerges because powerful stakeholders need solutions to problems that existing disciplines were not designed to solve. Here are our goals for this video. First, I want you to be able to explain why business schools emerge in the early 1900s. Second, we'll connect that institutional growth to marketing by showing why distribution became central to marketing's formation. And third, we'll identify early strategic marketing concepts that start showing up in this period, especially segmentation, differentiation, and managerial control. As we go, I want you to listen for the pattern. A new business problem emerges, existing training and existing disciplines do not fully address it, and then a new institution or field forms to meet the need. To understand marketing's early development, we first need to understand why business schools formed. At the beginning of the 20th century, apprenticeship models started becoming obsolete. Large firms needed managers who could handle complexity, scale, and coordination across growing organizations. Corporate America also had a clear influence here. Businesses wanted universities to produce graduates with practical management skills. Universities responded by building practical degree programs that offered career mobility and attracted students. Over time, business education became part of competition for students and institutional prestige. Now, notice the pattern in the timeline of early business schools. Once stakeholders need the training, the university system grows fast. This is important because marketing's rise parallels the growth of business schools. One major reason is that distribution became strategically important in this period. Firms were no longer only thinking about production. They were increasingly forced to manage how products moved to market, how they were sold, and how demand was created and maintained. At the same time, economics as a discipline largely prioritized production over distribution, which created a gap. Marketing developed to study and teach market distribution more directly. So when you look at the rise of business schools, you're also looking at a key condition that enabled marketing to take shape as a field. So why does distribution become the big theme here? Starting in the 1870s, we see the birth of branded products. Branding changes the game because once products become standardized and branded, firms have to ensure consistent availability across many markets. Branded products increase the need for distribution systems that were scalable, reliable, and controllable. But distribution was not frictionless. There was resistance from multiple stakeholders. First, consumers were not automatically receptive to innovations. Many buyers were skeptical of new branded products, especially when they cost more than familiar local alternatives. Second, small independent retailers often resisted national brands because they already had their own house brands. Store brands gave retailers more control, more flexibility, and often better economics. Even with smaller margins per unit, higher turnover could make these products strong profit drivers. A simple example is a local grocer pushing a store-labeled staple like flour or soap because it sells quickly and keeps customers returning. Third, wholesalers had their own incentives. Many bought from manufacturers and sold to retailers under their own private labels. National brands threatened that control because manufacturers wanted retailers to carry the manufacturer's branded goods instead. Fourth, manufacturers responded by creating their own branded products and, in some cases, establishing their own wholesale operations to increase control over distribution and reduce dependence on wholesalers. And finally, there was resistance within the firm itself. Companies debated the value of advertising, struggled with consistency across markets, and faced hard decisions about product and product line selection, essentially deciding where to compete and what to prioritize. So the story here is that distribution and branding created new coordination problems, and those problems helped generate the need for marketing as a strategic and managerial discipline. This is where we start to see the promise of marketing strategy as an intellectual project. One key contribution comes from Arch W. Shaw in 1912 with Some Problems in Market Distribution. Shaw treats distribution as a core market problem, not a side issue. And he begins articulating ideas that we now recognize as foundational strategy concepts. First is differentiation, how firms make offerings distinct in the eyes of customers. Second is segmentation, how firms group customers based on needs, behaviors, or responsiveness. A second major contribution comes from Butler and colleagues in 1918 in Marketing Methods. What's interesting is that their framing is explicitly managerial. They describe marketing managers as people who direct both salesmen and advertising. At the same time, their approach is strategic because they intentionally exclude the micro techniques of advertising and personal selling. In other words, marketing is being framed as coordinated decision-making, not just tactics. So Era 1 is where marketing begins to define itself as a field that studies distribution problems and develops strategic and managerial solutions. Let's summarize Era 1. Business schools formed to professionalize management for industrial capitalism, especially as large firms needed a new class of trained managers. Marketing emerged as a response to distribution complexity and the rise of branded goods, which created new coordination problems in getting products to market. An early scholarship framed marketing as both managerial and strategic, not just a set of sales techniques. So as we move into Era 2, starting in the 1920s, watch how these early ideas develop further. We'll see more formal frameworks, broader adoption in business practice, and deeper emphasis on the role of marketing in firm strategy. Thank you for watching. If this video was helpful, please take a moment to like the video and subscribe for more marketing history and strategy content. In the next part of this series, we'll build on Era 1 and move into Era 2, where marketing becomes more formalized through new frameworks, broader adoption and practice, and stronger links to firm strategy. If you have questions, leave them in the comments, and I'll see you in the next video.